Hello everybody, RPG a Day, day 16. The my travel day for Gen Con. So this is not me live. This is me doing something beforehand, and what I'm doing actually right now is getting on a plane and going to Indianapolis. So excited. So excited. I can't even tell you. This is has the potential to be one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. It just depends on how it goes. So, I'm super excited to meet a bunch of the people that I admire. Okay, day 16. So, which RPG do you enjoy playing as is, as opposed to adapting, which is the question we had yesterday? Which RPG do you enjoy playing as is? Again, people who know me will probably not be surprised by this. But my answer to that is Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds, unlike Fate, is really it's extraordinarily adaptable, meaning it can be used for lots of different settings, and lots of different moods, and lots of different ways of playing. Because it has all these sort of rules that you can bring to the foreground or recede into the background depending on what you're doing with it. On the other hand, it's best when you're running in a setting that's dangerous, I think. It's at its best when the setting you are running in is risky. When there's a risk of death, when there's a risk of getting hurt, Fate, better suited for more narrative kind of experiences, I hate that word too. Better suited for more dramatic. I hate that word too. That's not the right word. It's more suited for things like Teen Detective, or some of the off-the-wall things you might run that don't involve a lot of combat and aren't necessarily super dangerous in terms of getting hurt. Fate can do that too, but it's better suited for the other things, I think. Savage Worlds, really well suited for dangerous worlds. In fact, I would, if anybody who played Savage Worlds or wanted to run it, I would highly recommend keeping that in mind. So, the reason that I say, that said, it's super adaptable, and it has all kinds of settings that both Pinnacle Games produces and third parties produce to run with Savage Worlds. All kinds. It's great. And they do plot point campaigns, which are also awesome. And so it can be used to do all kinds of stuff. But the base rules are best not messed with in Savage Worlds, whereas Fate encourages you to change things and gives you dials to tweak and gives you these things that you can do to adapt the game to a specific setting. Savage Worlds is best left alone, with the exception of setting rules that you can make. And setting rules basically allow you to tweak it so that you can make it less dangerous or more dangerous, or do other things with it that complement the setting. That's why they're called setting rules. However, the base mechanics of Savage Worlds are sort of interlocked and sort of House of Cardsy. And I don't mean that to sound disparaging, because that's what's beautiful about it, is that if you take away one of the base mechanics of Savage Worlds, the system starts to sort of bleed and leak, and it doesn't work quite as well. And so a lot of people who come to Savage Worlds from different game systems, when they read it, they don't quite get it. They don't understand it really. And so the first instinct is to start changing it to make it more like the system they came from. And that can be, well, I mean, it works for some people, but it just turns out that Savage Worlds is so beautifully sort of choreographed in terms of how things fit together, that if you take away one core mechanical element, the whole thing sort of starts to sag and collapse, and it just doesn't work the way Savage Worlds is supposed to work. For example, if you decided to say, you know what, I don't like these bennies. Bennies are bad. And bennies basically are things that you can give the players, and they can spend them to re-roll their dice. That's all it is, just re-roll. And that's a powerful thing, but it's not that powerful. And it turns out, if you don't have that ability in Savage Worlds gets really savage. Like, it's not savage enough already. No. So if you get rid of that, it sort of it breaks things. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. But the combat system and the way, the philosophy it has about role-playing sort of don't work as well without bennies. Bennies are a instant gratification reward that the GM can give to a player for good role-playing. And the key there is that it's instant gratification. So when a player does something the GM likes, when a player does something super cool, or makes the table laugh, or does something that you would want to encourage at your table, the GM can give a Benny to that player right away. And that player then knows that whatever they just did is something that the GM wants to encourage at the table. That player and other players know. And that's a powerful thing. So that's one function of Say Bennies. The other function is, without the reroll ability, things can get very rough for the players in combat. In combat specifically. And I think that's all by design. That's all why it's so, reliant on all the other systems. And so if you start taking away base mechanics, my point is, you're going to come back around here. My point is, if you start taking away and messing around with the base mechanics of Savage Worlds, other than setting rules, it starts to leak, bleed, and break down. And I think that's actually cool. That's very awesome. Because Savage Worlds is very specifically geared toward a certain kind of play style. And it's a good one. It's a well thought out philosophy. So, unlike Fate, I generally don't tend to try to change the rules of Savage Worlds. Because I don't know, it works well for what its intended use is. Really well. And it's super adaptable in terms of flexibility to run all kinds of different kinds of games. And setting rules can take care of the little things like, okay, it's too savage, or it's not savage enough, or other other things that you might want to bring to it or encourage in your game. Like, I want to have a more persuasion-oriented game where people talk their way out of things, and you can add a setting rule for that. And the setting rules come on top of the base mechanics. You don't, most of the time. So, I don't know. I'm rambling, and people who run Savage Worlds will probably disagree with me, but I don't know. That's my philosophy about it. So, Savage Worlds, that's the game that I most enjoy playing as is. Okay, talk to you tomorrow.